guys, we talk so much about interview preparation and recruitment, but I think the best person to clear a lot of our doubts is the person who leads the hiring process itself. So today with us, we have Mohan Kumar, who is the head of talent acquisition of Intuit India. He leads the entire professional as well as university hiring team, and he drives our entire hiring strategy. So I'm going to ask him a lot of questions about how can you maximize your chances of getting into Intuit, how are the hiring decisions made, and a lot more. So I hope you find this video helpful. But before we get started, let me tell you about the sponsor of the video. Educative.io. There are a lot of cool courses for software engineering present on Educative.io. You can check out all the courses using the link in the description. And the cool part now is that you can get discount on the subscription using the discount code Keerti and get access to all the courses of Educative.io. So do check it out and I hope it is helpful to you. Hi Mohan, thank you so much for coming and doing this. Let's start with the most common question that I get. How does a deserving candidate maximize their chances of getting into Intuit? What is the best way to apply? Do referrals really make a huge change?
So hi Keerti, happy to be here and thank you for this question. I know it's a pretty much on everybody's minds about understanding how do I maximize chances of getting shortlisted and then they're on to the interview process. Keerti, the fact is that our recruiters are scouting the talent market actively on the web for top talent. The opportunity is in front of everyone in terms of how can one be visible, right? We're looking for engineers with some strong expertise in their domain. We're looking for engineers who are making advances with using their expertise, solving complex problems to make customers successful, right? Now, the question is about, is your resume that you built articulating your expertise well enough? If it doesn't, unfortunately, our recruiters don't get as much while reading the resume and a person could get passed on, although deserving, right? The resume is the first medium with which a recruiter comes in contact with a candidate, right? Now, how can you really work on your resume to articulate the value proposition that you bring to the table, answering some of those details that are in the job description and what organizations are looking for, right? Your ability to stand out in the crowd and demonstrate the skill set that the job requires is key to getting noticed and shortlisted. Our talent acquisition is usually very hungry to talk to top candidates who fulfill these criteria, and there is definitely this opportunity in front of all of us to get noticed and get shortlisted. You asked me about referrals. Well, I would say that referrals help to get the candidate's resume up to the interview table, but then the parameters of consideration do remain the same.
Great. So Mohan, since resumes play such an important role, I wanted to understand how are resumes reviewed? Is the process manual or is there any software that is reviewing the resume? So only keywords matter or also how the resume looks matters?
There are thousands of resumes that one search throws up in the web, Keerti. So what happens is that the first process of shortlisting a resume is run through algorithms based on searches and based on these strings that people would utilize. But post that is only making your resume come up to that list where somebody can take notice. But once that is done, then recruiters review a lot more internally in terms of how the resume is articulating the skill sets, the expertise that somebody is bringing to the table, and goes beyond just a resume just showing up in the list.
So actually both are happening, right? So first shortlisting happens, but then again recruiters also go through your resume. So it has to be real.
Yes, it has to be real. It's definitely not just a machine throwing up resumes and that's about it. It's just beyond that.
Great. Another thing I really wanted to understand was that how has COVID changed the hiring process now that the entire hiring is happening virtual? What were the changes that you had to accommodate?
Well, the pandemic just changed things, questioning and just throwing out all the assumptions that existed earlier, right? So the pandemic has shown that you can do your work from anywhere, which really means more competition and competition coming from all different places. Today, our entire assessment process has shifted virtual, which was a lot more on site at some point of time. So, which also means that you have to be adaptive to new technologies, embrace technology, and stand out in a world where it is online, right? For example, if you were in an on-site interview, you had an opportunity to possibly get your point across pretty clearly because you're sitting in the room with fellow interviewers. But when you're in a virtual world, you have to speak up. You have to make sure that your point is heard. So you have to make sure that you're able to utilize some of those collaborative tools that exist today and ensure that you're communicating your expertise clearly through that. So it has changed the way in which we assess, the way we actually are able to communicate and able to talk to people together.
Nice. Now, I really wanted to ask, Intuit recently mentioned in a press release that we are looking to hire people for 350 plus roles. Now, I'm sure that puts up a lot of pressure on the entire talent acquisition org, right? So, in this, how do you handle the pressure? How do you strategize the entire hiring process, the assessments, the resource planning? And also, I wanted to understand your personal aspect towards it, because you have to maintain a balance between, you have to make sure that right talent comes into it, but you also have to make sure that opportunity is given to as many people as possible.
Well, absolutely. So Intuit is expanding in a massive way, right? And it's very exciting to be part of this growth, right? So before we get into our strategy, let me just talk about what are we hiring for also, right? I think the hiring at Intuit will take place across software engineering, product and program management, product design, data science streams at entry, mid, and senior roles. We will be looking for people who are the best talent out there, who are customer obsessed and are excited and are evolving with new technology. The majority of our hiring will be focused on scaling our engineering product teams, right? Now, we've been on a journey to scale ourselves to hire the best talent to support our product teams. And it's been a wonderful process over the last few months of changes and a lot of learnings, right? We're ramping up our own TA team to help support the growth. We're hiring more recruiters, sourcers, and coordinators in the team. We're also ensuring that we have the right processes and we're able to scale up these processes, because ensuring a great experience for our candidates as well as everyone in our hiring teams internally is of very much important for us. It's paramount to us. Now, the thing is that we also need to ensure that we're able to communicate our opportunities to that top talent outside in this universe, right? Across the country. We want to mention, we have to ensure that our brand messaging reaches the right audience, and we work with our marketing and communications teams to build out a strategy to attract top talent. Once the candidates complete the online tech assessment and once they clear it, our recruiters invite them for a phone screen interview. And this phone screen interview is usually a domain-focused interview with a tech assessor. And it's an opportunity for both the parties to understand a little more about the work profile, the candidate's background, the skill, expertise that somebody brings in, and also an opportunity just to understand whether the expectations are in line with each other's objectives, right? Now, once this is complete, what we do is we schedule people for an one-day process, which we call as A for A, Assessing for Awesome. Now, this is a wonderful process where we assess candidates without bias through this framework. Now, candidates are actually given an opportunity here to do a task or strategize in a similar way that they would do on the job. They usually present this to a small team that helps us assess their ability to think strategically and creatively. Now, this often helps our teams to get a view about the candidate's soft and hard skills, right? Our A for A process actually focuses on 4 elements. The first one is assessors. Now, assessors who come from diverse background to ensure that we avoid any groupthink. The next is the skills and values, where we go deep to ensure that the candidates is a fit for individual teams and the organization as a whole. The craft demo, where candidates have an opportunity to demonstrate their skills, whether it's through a coding exercise or sharing a portfolio or a presentation or running through a case study. And then the last element is about the same day decision, which ensures that feedback and closure to candidates quickly. All of this together helps us in terms of getting in a clear strategy for us to scale in terms of hiring top talent.
So, Mohan, what I feel is that there's a huge gap between the skill set that candidates offer and the skill set that we are looking for. Is that true? Because what I personally see is that we take a lot of time to fill positions, to find the right candidate for the roles that we're looking for. And I also see a lot of people complaining that there are not enough opportunities, there are not enough vacancies. So, is there a huge gap between the skill set, or what is your thoughts on this?
Well, there are gaps, and there's also that typically takes time for finding candidates, right? The truth is that it takes time to find candidates, right? Keerti, filling a position, although seemingly simple, has complex nuances around it, right? I think there are requirements to match the candidate's profile, the skills and interest with the qualifications that the open job requires, right? And further on, it's also about what the opportunity offers to the candidate. So it's not a one-way street, it's both ways, right? It is about an organization clearly understanding whether this is the right individual to come into the organization to be successful, and also for the candidate to understand clearly that this is the right organization, the right team, and the right profile or the right work profile that I'm getting into. Now, we need to find candidates who have the required skill set. And plus, we also need to find candidates who are aligned and excited to be part of the customer problem that the teams are actually joining are solving, right? Ensuring that the candidate has visibility to the work that they're getting into, the work profile is clearly aligned to what the candidate wants to grow in their career, as is going to be is going to be key for a good match, which will have a sustained impact for both, right? And we're looking for that aspect. Now, while you're working through all of this, it takes time and multiple candidates to work with, right? And I say multiple candidates from a talent acquisition side. From a candidate side, we would talk about multiple vacancies to find that right match, right? What I would say is that by staying focused on understanding the job description that one is reading, clarifying expectations, right? Being open by communicating what strengths one brings to the table in terms of what the job expects, acknowledging some of the shortfalls, as well as showcasing your learning abilities would go a long way in terms of bridging these gaps, right? Also, it's a continuous evolution in terms of learning for every one of us. So putting together a learning plan to bridge what the opportunities that you want to go after are stipulating and how you will want to bridge that is going to be helpful in the longer run.
Right. But is it true that nowadays, soft skills matter as much as your technical skills for the roles?
Absolutely. I think it's no longer just about technical skills. It's about technical skills, your business acumen, your communication skills. I think it's a well-rounded package that is going to be important for every candidate as we go along.
Great. That really, really helps a lot. Mohan, can you talk a bit about, how do you make the tough decisions, like which all universities to hire from, how many candidates to hire for which profiles?
Yeah, so university talent is a big focus for us in Intuit, and it forms a critical part of our workforce strategy. Just in terms of helping you answer what positions do we recruit, it's all part of our workforce strategy. I think our yearly planning determines the workforce strategy of what teams do we hire for, how many do we hire for across different levels, and that all comes in together as a workforce strategy year on year. Now, depending on the number of hires that we need to do at an entry level, we determine how many and what universities we go to, right? It depends on multiple reasons and multiple parameters, such as relationships that we have with academia, our need to hire a diverse workforce from around the country, our need to have a good ratio between different universities that exist in the country, right? Also to benefit from the skill sets that are being churned out in the top universities, right? Now, all of this determines together our strategy, how we go to universities, right? Now, if I were to answer about how many do we go to, if we were to hire, say, about 100 engineers, 100 new engineers in a year, we may require to visit an X number of colleges. And that X number is determined based on what could be a possible ratios of hires by going into each of these colleges, right? And these are usually determined by our year-on-year averages that we've seen when we go to a batch of 100 and we assess those 100 set of people, how many would really clear our process. We have some ratios based on which we go. So we also realized that we can't go to all the universities because the university hiring calendar in India is very, very concentrated. It's in 2 weeks, and we obviously can't be in multiple places in all 2 to 3 weeks in a year, and hence we also do off-campus hiring, and there's an opportunity for people to apply to us offline and then get access to us. In the virtual world, it becomes a lot more easier for us to do that.
Great. Mohan, you mentioned a bit about that, you take decisions based on the diversity ratio also, like as in to maintain the diversity ratio, right? So this is a very controversial topic, but what happens is that we have seen that there are some women-oriented hiring programs that happen, and that sort of brings negative bias in the other gender that, women are getting more opportunities. So is it true that it's easier for women to get hired? I'm going to be completely blunt about the question. What is your opinion on this? What really happens when we try to do, diversity-based hiring?
Yeah, so the Keerti, our hiring assessment process and the bar in terms of how we select people does not change for anybody, which is the high standards that Intuit holds up to. However, diversity, equity, and inclusion is extremely important for Intuit, right? And it is something that we are all committed to. And the reason why it is extremely important is because I think let's think back about a simple question about whom do we serve, right? We serve our customers, and our customers are a diverse lot, right? And ensuring that while you're serving your customers who are a diverse lot of people, it's extremely important that you have a workforce which is diverse itself, right? And hence, it is important that we have our hiring strategy as part of our workforce strategy to hire diverse set of people. Saying that from a hiring perspective, we don't necessarily have quotas or reservations for any specific diverse areas. We want to make sure that we encourage more diverse applications and we treat them with merit. And we go that extra mile in terms of sourcing diverse candidates in terms of our whole strategy. But then the entire assessment and our consideration process, the bar does not change. It's equal for everybody in accordance to us being an equal opportunity employer.
So the bar does not change is the very important factor, because there's a misconception that, if a woman is being hired, then the questions being asked are far more easier. So
definitely not. I think you're an interviewer yourself, right? I'm sure you know. Yeah.
Yeah, but coming from me and coming from the talent acquisition head, the difference is a lot. So yeah, that's why thank you so much for clearing it.
No worries.
Okay, so now when candidates join, right, for them an internal mobility process plays a huge role in deciding a company, right? So can you talk a bit about how easy it is for people in Intuit to, switch teams in case they want to work with new technology? How easily do they get new opportunities within Intuit itself?
Wow, that's a good question. So internal mobility at Intuit is encouraged, right? We have a very strong mobility program. We don't have a bar in terms of the amount of time that somebody has to spend in a particular job. We have a guideline towards it, but there's no rule that you have to spend an amount of time before you explore another opportunity in the organization. We want to make it easy for people to locate jobs within product lines or across product lines. We have enabled our people to be able to locate all opportunities internally via an internal portal, which allows our employees to take a look at the varying opportunities that keep coming up across different teams. And they also have an opportunity to go in and have exploratory conversations even before they decide to apply for a job. So we make it easy for people to find opportunities internally via the internal portal, and also have those exploratory conversations even before they apply for a job to know whether that's the cup of tea and also make those clear decisions. Encouraging internal mobility is key for us because we want to have a clear path for our employees to find within the organization itself rather than looking outside.
Great. I'm going to ask you another controversial question. I'm not sure if you can answer it with details, but I'm anyway going to ask it. Sure. So, what about the compensation? So, our salaries differ from person to person. There are a lot of factors like number of years of experience, skill set. So, how do you decide that a person is getting what he or she deserves?
Keerti, thanks for that question. And I think compensation, how it is arrived at, and whether it's equitable, is a question I'm sure on many people's minds, right? So there's definitely science and a robust process behind how the compensation are arrived, right? It is dependent on organizational principles, the workforce design, the benchmarks, and the total rewards philosophy, right? There are mechanisms based on the above that there is a compensation ranges that are arrived for different job families and different levels and bands within the organization. And there are guidelines through which the hiring teams work towards making sure that we are hiring people in an equitable process and making sure that a person is fairly compensated without any bias.
Great. And what about your salaries? Now, this is a question that I've always had, that how does, talent acquisition team itself decide that, what salaries should they get? Isn't it a bit confusing? How do you guys decide that?
Well, it's not confusing. I think it's simple. Although I wish we could just decide our own compensations, but unfortunately, the reality it isn't. I think the same kind of comp guidelines that applies to the larger organization applies to our teams as well, and equitable practices. So it's the same process. Is there anything different?
Okay, great. Now, the next question and the last question I would say is that, it's not for you as a talent acquisition head, but it is for you as an employee of Intuit. Why do you think a person should join Intuit? What is it about Intuit that connects the most with you?
Yeah, I can go on for hours on this, Keerti. This is my 6th year at Intuit, and I still feel like it's day one, and I love the company. Couple of things that I will possibly talk about why I'm Intuit and what makes me stay at Intuit and why I think somebody should consider and join Intuit, right? I think maybe not many people know, but we are a 38-year-old organization, and we've thrived through the era of DOS, Windows, web, cloud, mobile, and now AI and machine learning. Intuit has practiced self-disruptions and reimaginations through all of these different eras. Converting challenge into opportunity. It's in Intuit's DNA to constantly evolve, right? Intuit is focused on customer and creating those awesome customer experiences. We measure success through our customer's eyes, and we're fueled by deep customer empathy, amazing design, and powerful technology. So we're recognized as one of the world's leading companies in the best workplaces list globally where we exist. In India, we are amongst the top places in the Great Places to Work list, and we've stayed there for several years in a row. The one thing that resonates with me a lot more, Keerti, is our mission, right? Our mission is powering prosperity around the world, and it is so powerful. And let me talk about an example of powering prosperity in action, which really inspires me and inspires me to come in and do the best work of my life every day, right? The example that I want to share with you is about the Prosperity Hub vision, right? One of the way Intuit invests in communities is by placing customer success centers in which we call as prosperity hubs in economically distressed regions. We began this a few years back, and since then, Intuit has driven hundreds of jobs, creating a ripple effect of prosperity, supporting and growing small businesses, and helping our prosperity hub employees to achieve their financial independence or financial well-being for themselves and their families. Now, this is just an example of how Intuit is powering prosperity through our products, employees, and our customers, right? And this is huge. Joining Intuit is an opportunity to join an awesome set of colleagues who are single-mindedly focused on our customers, focused on our mission to power prosperity. And it's so powerful to be part of this team and make an impact at the world stage.
I can feel the excitement within you while you're talking about Intuit, and I guess that really says a lot in itself. Any last words for the audience, like who wants to be part of Intuit in near future?
Only thing that I would say, Keerti, is that Intuit is in a massive drive, and we're looking for amazing engineers such as yourselves. So I think, as I shared, we spoke about a bit about how do you maximize your opportunities to get noticed. How can you look at ensuring that we have a right skill set, match, etc. So I look forward to talking to many of you and welcoming you to the organization as we go through this whole place. But that's about
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for coming and doing this. It really means a lot, and I'm sure it will definitely help so many people.
Thank you, Keerti. I think the pleasure is mine. It was awesome talking to you.
Great, thank you. I really hope you liked the video. Please do let me know in the comments. What else would you like to know about Intuit? I'll try to make sure that I get them answered by the right people. And please do like, share, and subscribe for more such content. It will mean a lot to me. Thank you. And before you go, let me remind you that Educative.io Unlimited provides you unlimited access to all their courses by paying just once. Don't forget to use the coupon code Keerti and check out the link in the description to get additional discounts. This might be really helpful.